Great.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, thank you all. Let's jump. I always like to ask questions, but I always encourage kind of organic conversation. Gives it a little bit more drama if you're going to, ask questions amongst yourselves. But I'd like to start with this aphorism. I like using big words. Without data, you're just another person with an opinion, which I've always thought was an interesting way to put things. From my days before I was an editor, I actually worked at a company called Hot Stats, which you might know. So I do come from a little bit of a data. They're still around. But they got acquired, but they're still around. They've been absorbed. So they're off that. I will say, well, what is your opinion on the usefulness of data today and its utilitarianism for running smarter and better hotels? So someone can either jump in, or I could use the Socratic method and call on someone. Nick?
I think I don't know that we've ever had a shortage of data over the last 5 to 10 years. We've probably got more now than we ever have. I think hopefully the future is going to be the data pulling through better threads so we can make good decisions, or have presented good decisions to us. So rather than having this amount of data we can't go through in any reasonable time, it narrows it down to 3 very meaningful insights that I think we can go on.
That sounds like the tip of AI that I'm sure we'll be getting into. Anyone else want to?
So let's say I'll break the ice on AI.
Yeah.
I'm making the data even more important.
One question in, and we always get to AI. I know, that was my fault. Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. I guess why not? It's that you can't get into a discussion about data today without bringing up artificial intelligence. And as someone who writes for a living, I kind of try to steer clear of it. But from a data perspective, I mean, it is, it was probably my 10th question in, but hey, how is AI making data more, I guess, actionable? Because we can have all the data you want, but how do you make it actionable? And how does AI kind of help you kind of weave through all of it?
I think it's an interesting area that's still very much developing. Like they keep saying, AI is only as good as the data. Like having a really, really strong foundation in your data and understanding it really well, and the processes that go around how you're ingesting that data, what it's used for. Like you really have to get that down really well first. You can't just throw AI on top of data and expect it to come back with some kind of revolutionary information. So it is, it's just really interesting to see how that is shaping out and what kind of amazing insights we'll be able to get from it.
Because it's still kind of nascent, right? It's still burgeoning, right?
Mm-hmm.
What would you say it looks like now compared to what it'll be 1, 2, 3 years from now?
I will speak for our experience. I don't know about others at the table, but I would still say it's really early days for something that you're building out yourself. I think some of the third-party partners have moved a bit quicker and are making things available, but kind of doing things in-house, I still think it's pretty early days.
Yeah.
But I will say that it will make access, I think to Nick's point earlier, it will make the data more accessible. I think that's been one of the biggest hurdles in making smarter decisions is the access to the data, right? And finding something that is actionable, I think stealing his word. And I think that's what AI will do. It'll cut out all the noise and sift through and hopefully get more quicker to action.
And I think that will, in the long run, make you as an operator better at your
more efficient, time saved, better, quicker, faster, smarter decisions. Right. I think that's the end goal.
Yeah.
Just my personal experience, right? We're not there yet. We're still building the foundation. To Matt's point, we're still kind of figuring out what saying is still shifting, right?
Yeah.
What do we need to build today for tomorrow?
What about you, James? I guess you're the only brand on the table, right? Am I right? Yeah.
I can pretend to be a brand.
There you go.
I have brands.
Well, I think that there's 2 sides to AI in a sense, where there is what can AI do for me, like from the sense of an automation standpoint, ultimately.
Yeah.
Which is, it's great, and there's also what is the data telling me at the end of the day, and there's sometimes, everyone's saying, I want ChatGPT, I want Claude, I want this and I want that, I want it to I want to throw my data in there for it to spit out this imaginary formula. It's not that simple ultimately, and a lot of people are doing that and not validating the data, so it's a little scary, and like you said, it's kind of in the beginning stages ultimately, but I think as we continue to teach these models and we continue to mold with AI, it will be great, but I think it's a little scary right now.
Yeah, and there's also the how to use AI from a guest facing versus back of the house and making travel decisions. There's so many, areas.
Yeah, I think it's the fear of the unknown is what it is right now. And I also think that there's a lot of siloization, if that's a word, that's occurring. There's data in different buckets that don't really correlate with a lot of different departments right now. So IT has a challenge of taking this data and assimilating it and trying to communicate it to the different departments and their needs when you talk about from sales or marketing or operations. And so there's still a lot of siloization that's occurring. And I think you're absolutely right. We're in the infancy of this. But it's one of those tangible items that ownership and stakeholders are salivating at the potential.
Yeah.
And I think it's exciting in that perspective. So it's maybe opening up their pocketbooks at this point. So that's what
I think one of the interesting points you said, like on the silo piece, it's probably one of the biggest things I've used AI is doing for us is it helps us look at things that we wouldn't have otherwise noticed. Because, if I look at anything, whether it's service, like service, we've got, Medallia, Qualtrics, we're looking at that one scope.
Yeah.
But if we were to drop, a CSV dump of 1,000 reviews in a project file with an AI and then layer in our service calls, out of order rooms, elevator issues.
right.
Yeah.
Whether
Facilities.
co-star day
Yeah.
by days, like it starts to tell us a story of why we might see a change.
And it can do it so quickly too. I'll throw it to you, Chris, because that's one area. So what are some of the other operational decisions you believe will be kind of fully data-driven or maybe AI-driven within the next, call it 3 to 5 years versus decisions that still require human judgment? Because that's part of it too. It's like the AI versus human.
Yeah, I think there's always going to be some, I shouldn't say always, but in that time horizon, there's going to be still some human judgment and intervention. It's just a matter of how frequently and at what scale, right? So when you talk about pricing decisions in revenue management, you'll probably still have to monitor the strategy and make sure that the strategy is going along with the hotel's value proposition, with the owner's goal for the asset, where you're actually positioning it in a competitive marketplace to speak to your customers and convert them. But what you probably won't have to do is analyze, is my price for next Tuesday correct? You're not going to have to look at it at a daily granular level. It's going to be more trending analysis from the human to make sure that the AI is heading in the right direction. I think also going back to this volume of data that we have, to Nick's point, there's not been really a shortage of data, but there's so much data that we tend to, I think, as operators, look at what's familiar to us and the data sources that we know have been beneficial over the last 10 or 15 years. And I think AI has the potential to open some new insights to say, you haven't really been looking at this data, but you've been collecting it, and guess what? There's correlation and maybe even causation over here that we should start to pay attention to. I think scheduling is an area when it comes to labor efficiency that the AI can really have some good insights. You schedule today based on a forecast, right? But imagine if you could schedule based on not just forecast based on pace, but based on demand signals before people even book. What's likely to happen next week, even though it hasn't showed up in your pace yet.
Yeah.
So I think AI is going to really be able to help with forecasting. It's going to be able to help open with running efficient buildings for sure. The design of a hotel, I think, will change 10 years from now based on usage data we can get from our key lock systems, how often is a traveler actually using the fitness center and which customer segments are using it and which days of the week and hours of the day are they using it, and how does that translate into a schedule for cleaning the fitness center and restocking the water, right? I think all of that kind of opens up as you start to collect more data that humans don't have to spend the time to go analyze, they can just get the learnings and the insights.
So pretty much everything is revenue management, labor management, building out architecture. They don't have to use the CAD anymore, or whatever architects use to build
But
hotels.
I have a question. I have a question back to you.
Yeah.
You still need to get the data somewhere in there.
right.
Somebody has to put the data in there.
Yeah, that's right.
And the garbage in, garbage out philosophy holds true.
Yeah.
I think even more now if you really want to strategize correctly.
Yeah, I think, going to the key lock scenario, because I think there may be a question later about what's the one piece of data I wish I had that I don't have today. I would love to get, like, the data is there, it's in our log systems, but there's
Right.
not a good interface that I'm aware of to pull it into our commercial platforms, right?
Yeah.
There isn't.
Russ is building it for us. I can say. But that's one that, like, to me, there's no garbage there. Like, I can see that room 207 used their key to access all these different doors in the hotel, and I can see that they're using the club lounge and they're using it these hours of the day. And then based on the hotel's market segment mix, when you go to help an owner develop a new hotel in a market, you can say, based on the customer mix that we think is coming into this market, you don't need a fitness center that large. You need a bigger executive lounge. You know, you can really help to value engineer the asset to speak more to the customer demographic based on just somebody tapping their key to a door, right? So the data's there, but to your point, it is a challenge today to extract it. I don't think that's going to be a challenge.
That's where you guys come in.
So the thing I've been thinking about the last couple of months is, we have to do it ethically, right? There's gotta be some protections around this, right? I can't just throw everybody's data in a database and start letting everybody look at each other's stuff. The other piece is, there's a cost here. Like, I don't know if everybody saw, but a few weeks ago, a couple of big companies ended up using all their tokens really fast, right? Their entire budget. We don't wanna be in a scenario like that. So we need to build it in a way that's cost effective for hospitality, because yes, they're willing to write some checks, but not unlimited checks, and we aren't, you know, medical field, we're not in defense where it's unlimited types of checks. We've got to really
So you're
build
saying
something.
it's not life and death, is what you're saying.
Well, it's not life and death, absolutely right. But it is, we're passionate about it, and we're gonna make sure that there's something in place that you all can use that's got a good cost model around it.
So I think also we jumped straight to AI. It was a good, but it would be interesting to understand what the base was prior to this kind of move in AI. Because someone sent me a question I thought was really important, and she was saying, at the property level, many hotels are still operating on fragmented and aging systems, right? That were never designed really to communicate effectively, call it the PMS in that. So then the question was, before we focus on what data can do, what should the foundational kind of technology environment look like? And also within the organization, who's accountable for it getting there? Is it the operator? Is it the owner? Is it the brand? Because and we know in the hotel industry there's so many different stakeholders. So I guess the kind of is like, where were we, and kind of where are we going, and how do we kind of get there with the kind of, like I said, fragmented and the systems that are in place now?
So our approach is to be as scrappy as we can. We'll get it from a PDF, from a text document, from a system that puts out an API, we'll get it. But that's hotelier, right? That's us just living in the ecosystem that existed.
You can work with any data set from anywhere.
We try to, right?
Yeah.
And every day, if something changes on a PMS, we'll capitalize on it. But there's also a reality of our ecosystem, to your point, that these PMSs aren't ready to just open up an MCP or any kind of API. And even when they do, we end up in situations where it's not as good, it's not as reliable as we would need it to be to satisfy our customers. So again, I'll say we were very scrappy. We'll go to the bottom of the barrel and grab a text document off of an email from a night auditor to build up the data. But again, we'll go all the way to the top. So we'll go with a best-in-class API if we can get it.
Well, I thought PMS, I mean, I see all the PMS, new technology that's there. I won't name names, but everyone's talking about it. They've already,
They're getting there.
yeah,
They're working on it.
yeah.
There's a change management component too, if you look at larger organizations, changing from one PMS to another, even if the new PMS does everything they say on paper.
Right.
Getting front desk teams trained, getting night audit teams trained, making sure they check all the boxes with the finance team and the revenue teams is a long path, like that takes a while.
Yeah.
I think the evolution is, I mean, the brands have to set the standards of what we should be doing.
Yes.
Those that are developing the software, right? Because you can get an API for almost everything now. I think there needs to be some skin in the game of just the integrity side of, we're not going to let just this unknown system link into ours. We have to make sure that it's good data, because otherwise you have that garbage situation. But then the operators have to understand how it all pulls together.
Yeah. Well, there's so many different systems out there, though. I know, like, companies like Marriott, they just went through an entire revolutionized their tech stack, right? I think they're still pushing that out, or.
I don't know how we're going to shake out on this, but I mean, I would tell you 3 to 5 years ago, it was more go with the person that does it best in their field. There's a lot of companies, and there still are today, that do 5 different things, but we used to always just focus on what their core competency was.
Yeah.
Now I think I've found more that AI tends to work better when it's living in its own ecosystem. It does well with anything because it can communicate and pick up, but it does better when it's talking to a platform of tools that are meant to work.
So it's like an insular type of environment. I kind of liken it, you want to go backwards in time, I kind
Yeah.
of liken it to what Newmarket and Delphi was doing before Amadeus took Delphi. So I have a lot of experience within the sales and catering realm of Delphi and the analytics that happened there. So this goes back to silo, right? Each department was in charge of their own data. And so some of my job functionality was to make sure that that data was accurate, right? So it goes back to, there's a human being that has to put this data in. Now we moved in, morphed into the Power BI world before AI to be able to extract that data through anything from a SQL or from what they used was market vision. But that was I think the birthplace of what they called big data. That was the terminology.
That was such a, I haven't heard that term in a while though.
That was used at the high tech
Yeah.
decade ago, right?
Yeah.
And so everybody was talking about big data.
Right.
The big data started from sales, the reservation sales world, the CRM world, right? And everybody talked about how do they take that big data in the CRM world and become the loyalty to the brands and the guest journey and how they're going to embrace that. But then all of the other data pockets that come out from facility, work order management service, restaurant, credit card transaction, behavioral transaction, activity transaction, reservation behavior. So there's a lot of different, the question really was about who is really in charge of that, right?
Yeah.
Who wants to take that vision? Who wants to,
Right.
lead the charge? I'm still trying to find out. It's like an owner has an impetus, but they don't really understand that.
Yeah.
An operator or a management company looks at it and goes, boom, I'm going to use this because that's going to pronounce my portfolio to my asset developers, okay? And then the general manager is going to use it from their small microcosm to produce to their management company. So I'm still trying to find who that champion is in that ecosystem.
We're still looking.
I don't think we've made much progress.
That's good.
I mean, 8 to 10 years, and honestly, we're having the same conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we're looking at AI, because AI is going to solve it.
Yeah,
Right,
it's
right.
not. If they can't do Power BI, how are they going to do AI?
So it felt like hospitality was just starting to get into Power BI and those kinds of roles, and then
We skipped right over it.
Like,
And we're going to continue living in a disparate system world. And even the brands, right? I mean, IHG just went through their big tech stack, Marriott's,
Yeah.
Hyatt's building up their CRS, and they're all making changes, but in the end, there's still going to be multiple ecosystems within their environment, and they will all have to figure out how to solve for communication.
Yeah.
So I think it's the same problem we're solving for today as we were solving for 10 years ago. There's more tools available today to kind of link these things up,
Yeah.
but not everyone has done it. So back to like jumping to AI first, coming back, like what do people do and how do people solve for
Yeah.
it? It's really hard to do it yourself. It costs a lot of money, it costs a lot of time. I know there are groups, many of us at the table have done it. I think we have more resources than the average hotelier, right?
Yeah.
So the answer is finding partners that can do it for you.
Right.
I think that's just the simplest answer. There are a handful of companies, including Hotelier, where you can go out and you can kind of buy stuff off the shelf and get access to some integrations or things that you're looking for. But I think that the sad truth is we haven't made nearly as much progress. I remember the big data days because we would have liked in the last 10 years.
Yeah. Well, actually, to your point, I'd like to know what we brought up the brands. What is their role, especially now with brands lodging companies that have 30 plus brands from luxury all the way down to economy. And brands today, as you know, they don't own real estate, they don't operate, they're total franchise, and just a fee-based companies. How do you feel like, what is their role in all this? Should they be the ones that are at the tip and it kind of funneling down? Like, what do you think?
We interact with the brands a little bit, but I definitely asked the hoteliers in the room, like, what do you see as their incentive, right? Because replacing a CRS at Hyatt or replacing a PMS at Marriott isn't necessarily to open up the data, I don't think. In fact, I kind of see them going in the other direction. They don't want to open up the data, but that's from a vendor perspective, right? We're trying to get in there all the time.
I think that's right. I think their job is to set the standard. So it's not to say what guest communication system you should be using. It's to say you have to have a guest communication system.
Yes.
And then we go find the best software that works for our operations team the best way. But ultimately, they're there to not set the experience, because operators are there to pull the experience to life, but they should be saying, here's kind of the standards that we should be doing.
Sure. And they're not really there to pay for it either. It's the owners that are,
No.
you know.
The brand has access to some level of data that others in hospitality industry would never would, like guest data or loyalty programs or things like that, where you could pull out some pretty powerful data to make.
Well, that's it. The loyalty programs today is like, that's the most important brand. Forget Hampton. It's Hilton Honors. You know. So how do you think? Just going back to the AI question, how can AI impact the loyalty programs today? Because I don't see, loyalty programs are great, but they still can't get the name right when you go to
So the only way a loyalty program actually interfaces with a management company or an operator, it has to take that same behavior and it has to match it up within an operational system. And that has to be cross and shared. And that's the only way it works. It works well in independent hotels.
Yeah.
But when you get into the brand, you can't share that information. So
the front desk just doesn't have the time or resources to sit there and dig into the loyalty program to know every single customer that's coming in that day. AI just prompting that up on the screen. As the person comes there and gives you a rundown of that customer, it can really.
Which is fantastic, I think, because
Yeah, there are PMSs that are doing that. Right. They're trying to incorporate that, but the brands get in the way. Not in the way, but I mean.
The ultimate goal.
There's the quote for the roundtable. The brands.
I think it's part of your last question too, of like, what do we wish we had today that we don't and we never will. And the honest answer, the brands wouldn't like us to share, is access to their loyalty program that can interconnect to all. So if we're a third-party management company and I've got a guest that travels at 4 major brands that I manage, not that they necessarily relate themselves to a Remington or to a Davidson, but we know what their preferences may be at one, but the brand keeps that loyalty information or lock and key, and I think that's what they've got most powerful, is they've got access to that is interfacing with any of their systems.
Yeah.
But then we lose
I mean, that's their secret sauce. That's the Willy Wonka factory right there. And a brand that's all they are, and they can sell that because they have that recognition through the loyalty.
Their distribution of loyalty.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I mean, how many Bonvoy members are there now? 300.
A lot.
Billion?
330 million.
I think it's 100 million.
It's an opportunity to provide an intense level of personalization to the hospitality experience that the brand has to be the one to bring on AI to actually enable.
Right.
So back to your question, I don't think the brand wants to do that. My joke earlier about asset light. Just look at what the business model's been over the last 5 years. It's about expanding distribution through franchise.
Oh yeah, sure.
They've got.
It's all about net unit growth, and that's pretty much the.
Yeah, it's what's the guy from Shark Tank? It's like it's literally like making pennies in thousands, right?
Kevin, no.
Yeah, Kevin earlier. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So is it going to be the brands? No. You're seeing a lot of owners, public companies, larger, investment firms that are building out their own infrastructures so they can, and couched in a way that says, hey, look, we'll help you as an operator, but really it's like they're kind of building out their own teams, they're building out their infrastructure, they're building out their own data sets, right? So they can kind of be better informed, which is what they haven't done in a long time. So I think they'll push it forward, right? Because they'll be making progress, and I think if you're not as a management group, it'll be pretty obvious that you're getting left behind.
Yeah.
So I think that'll help move things forward.
Let me ask you, James, how do you vet your technology partners when you're looking at, what do you look for?
Honestly, we look for vendors that are that already have a proven track record, ultimately, to work with some of the technology that we already work together with. So, like as an example, when we were vetting for a data warehouse platform, data lake, wherever you want to call it, one of our first questions is, can you connect with an Oracle product? And a lot of people say, yes, we can connect with an Oracle product, but if you've never connected with an Oracle product, you don't understand the granularity of the tables and all the different APIs and whatnot. So it makes it a little, a bigger of a headache, ultimately, and then you go down this rabbit hole and they can't connect, and you waste a lot of time. So
And
it's
money, yeah.
just asking the right questions. We tell them, we don't need you to sell us anything. At the end of the day, this is what we need, this is our business case model, and then can you meet these expectations, yes or no, and then we'll continue to research the product from there, basically.
Is it similar for third-party managers? I mean, is that how you kind of, or do you make recommendations to ownership, or do they say?
That goes both ways.
Yeah.
As much as we try to push in our own direction, there are ownership groups that have their own preferences and platforms that they want to bring to the table.
Yeah.
Which we have to accommodate.
I think the more we grow, the more we, if the operators want to do well, we're going to have a tech stack that we dedicate to that is key to our success, and probably not allow too many exceptions to that. I think I've seen that throughout the third-party companies I've worked for. That tends to be when the system breaks, when we have 80% on one system and then we have the 20% on.
The tech stacks change by brand too, right? You can't just, there's no uniform, one size fits all.
That's where some tools, whether it's Hotelier, Lighthouse, things that are brand agnostic, where I'm looking at the same view,
Yeah.
is going to be really important. And I think over the last year, I mean, conversation doesn't exist with a vendor without talking about their AI roadmap and what they're into and where they're going to go long term, because it's got to fit for us.
Yeah, with the, I mean, just the acceleration of technology, like when we're vetting vendors, we're no longer really looking at the product they have today or what they've been selling over the last 5 years. It's what's their vision for the next 2 to 3 years, and what are they developing? Because there's some best-in-class vendors that are not going to be best-in-class 3 years from now. And there's going to be other vendors that will become the new elite because they're kind of building into the future and they're much more dynamic and nimble. So we're looking at really a 2 to 3 year time horizon on tech at this point, on anything we buy. But the vendor has to have a clear vision for where they're going within that window for us to commit with them.
To that point, there's a good book that on AI called Code Intelligence, one of the quotes from it was, you should assume that the AI you're using today is the worst that you're ever going to use. Right? And it's going to rapidly evolve, so anything you're looking at, they don't have a clear map to what the next year looks like. And I know it's changing all the time, but they should be pretty rooted in where they're at.
Except for this week, because we got Fable last week and then Atelier, right? So,
Gets infinitely better. All right, this next question, this is a total pivot shift from where we were just talking about technology, but I wanted to get more about kind of metrics themselves and how the different ways you can look at data or metrics that help with generating revenue, profitability. But like we know, RevPAR has been the legacy metric for the hotel industry for, I don't know, call it decades now, right? But it seems to me that metrics like, I know, looking at things like net RevPAR, looking at customer acquisition costs, obviously TrevPAR, because ancillary revenues is such a huge part of hotels nowadays. It's not just selling rooms. And then GoPAR, which is, at the end of the day, I've always said that, you can't take RevPAR to the bank. RevPAR doesn't pay the rent, so to speak. It matters that, for every dollar that you accrue, how much of that dollar makes it through to the bottom line. So, and then putting that all together with, the amazing kind of expense creep that hotels have faced, call it above the line expenses, but I was looking at some data where, obviously, I don't know how much you can help with this, but like, property taxes are kind of the biggest part of that, the P&L, insurance, and then all the other, utility cost, everything. I guess the good thing is we sell nightly leases, which is good when inflation is high. It's a long kind of introduction to say, what operational metric do you believe hotel executives should be paying kind of more attention to? Maybe it's one of the ones I just identified, but what are some of the ones as operators, as brands that you really look to? It might be obviously one of these, but why? And what's behind it?
I mean, I would say this is maybe the easy answer, but there's not actually just one, because every hotel and scenario is very different. There's some where TrevPAR needs to be the focus because there's a baked-in labor cost operating model in a particular market that you're just not going to block and tackle around. So you've got to focus on driving top line as much as possible. But I think at the end of the day, we tend to think of like GoPAR as operators in our industry a lot. I mean, even if that term's not there, we think GOP because that's what management companies control. We talk more about NOI now more than we ever have. Because it's in this day and age, to the point of taxes, insurance, interest rates, for owners who have refied in the last couple of years or need to now. Like for us, we have to change how we think about the operating model in GOP to help them get the NOI they need, even though those things largely below GOP are out of our control.
Right. Yeah.
We need to find something above GOP to help them.
Yeah, we didn't even used to display anything below GOP in our tools up until the last 18, 24 months, and everybody's asking for it. Right?
Yeah.
You guys specifically.
But a lot of that stuff, like you said, is kind of out of your control. And maybe it's an asset manager who was the one who, like property taxes. I mean.
Yeah, but if we're looking at a P&L and we stop at GOP, we're not speaking the same language as the owner.
Right. Exactly.
If they could care less about GOP. It's about can they cover debt. Right.
Well, here's a contrary question. I don't lob grenades at me, but like, and historically also operators, you guys have been incentivized on the top line. So has there been a shift? I don't know if HMAs have changed where it's more putting your feet to the fire on NOI as part of like the kind of how you're compensated. Have owners looked to shift that up?
I'd say most HMAs now have a 2-tier performance test trigger.
Is that a recent thing, or has that been like that for a while now?
It's a couple of years.
A couple of years, so it's recent.
Yeah.
Lee.
I think, and to your point, the two things that we probably look at differently now more than ever, and I think to Chris's point on type of hotels, if it's an extended stay hotel, I'm caring about maybe the revenue per guest because of the inclusions. If it's a hotel with 5 restaurants, I care about profit per square foot because the guest room is not a relevant metric. So those kind of things are different, but optimal flow is the most important thing that I think we're trying to train people to look at. Is not every piece of business is created equal, and starting to restructure how we look at a P&L too, instead of just to say what's your cost per occupied room, it's more what's your acquisition cost, what's your supply cost, what's your labor cost. Kind of breaking those things down differently.
Anyone else want to?
No, I think that was actually pretty good.
Nice job. You summed it up.
Yeah, I think that was interesting to hear how he's breaking down some of their views. But yeah, I think profit's been around a while. As a form of an incentive metric. Like things built on GOP index is still there. We can't get away from them. But there's a lot of newer HMAs that all come down to cash. And to Chris's point, it's been a really volatile, finance period, kind of post-COVID, right? People got themselves a good loan, people got themselves a bad loan, so it's been a microscope for the last 5 or 6 years. So I would imagine many are, if not already, are headed in that way.
Well, especially with all the wall of loan maturities that are coming up, there's a lot of, and as operators, you guys like it when stuff is flowing and there's transactions. That's how you kind of make hay, right, with your business. One of the things, actually, I didn't, going back to AI, I actually would love to know how that force can be used. We haven't talked about F&B, right? Food costs and just making sure you have the optimal amount of food and there's less waste. And also from a purchasing perspective, I imagine the implications of AI from purchasing, procurement are huge.
Yeah, I think two big things that stand out that we've used recently is we just took over a portfolio of home-to hotels, which is not really my space, but as I look at it, I've realized that when we're benchmarking a particular type, any deviation of spend is going to really glare, right? So
margins are tight.
Yeah, so as we took these over, it's like I just want your invoices from the last 6 months for these 8 hotels to start with, and I dumped them all on a massive cloud project, and then just did a benchmarking analysis to say who's getting what, where's the best vendors I should be getting this from, and then it's getting your standards together saying, everybody's gonna buy this product from this person, here's why. So I think that's been helpful. And then on the F&B side, it's linking up the kitchen management system or kitchen display system into your POS and not cameras, but to the extent to say like, look, what's my average ticket time on these dishes? And
Yeah.
how should I menu engineer based on this? And having AI restructure the way your kitchen line's set up or do your menu engineering for you rather than you going in and saying, I should keep this or I should keep that.
Yeah, there's so many. I'd like to know if AI is ever going to get rid of the paper receipt. That's what I want to know.
Hopefully
I can't,
We're working on it.
I know, I get so sick of signing things, reams of paper. Anyway, maybe it will, maybe it won't. I imagine it will at one point. It's doing everything
You
else.
should just have all your receipts for you. You just log in the portal and see.
It really should.
Yeah.
It's like,
Really should.
Well, that's what I mean. There's got to be, in tipping, there's so many, yeah.
Yeah, I'll tack on what Nick was saying. He was focused very much on margins. We're not quite there in our reporting. And maybe to the extent that others could be, or maybe we'd like to be, and we certainly have it historically, but not as clear going forward. But where we have done a lot of development is on the top line F&B.
Yeah.
We have our point of sale systems are across the portfolio, kind of all feeding in on a daily basis. So we can look at things now, like we talked about this years ago, let's talk about progress made in the last 10 years. F&B was definitely, at least to me, it felt like a big kind of black box.
Yeah.
Didn't know how to get the data, then how to look at it, what to do with it. Now it's every day. We have it by server, by hour, by meal period, by meal item. We know who's serving what, when they served it, how often they served it, to whom it went to in some cases. So that level of detail, while I think there's a lot to be said for kind of managing middle down, this is really about incremental top line movement. And I think the more we can, kind of slice and dice that level of detail in food and beverage, I think we can make some better decisions in what to sell, when to sell it.
Yeah.
True menu engineering, not just like, oh hey, I think we should do because so and so server said they're selling a lot.
Less chicken, more beef.
I have that data. I can tell you
Yeah.
how much chicken you're selling. I can tell you how much salmon you're selling, and who's upselling what, and who's up not up. Like all that level of detail we have now, which is pretty cool. So it allows us to make better, faster, smarter
So
decisions.
I think that's going about the POS in the last 10 years where it's not brand specific, where it then gets controlled by the management companies and the operators, is really what the testing ground is. I think where you can take that data and then that's where inventory and procurement systems have glommed on.
Yeah, that's right.
And with their point of sale so that you can grab that data, which is now unique so that you can uniform and be consistent within your tech stack for your food and beverage, for your top line revenue. But
Right.
I'm just thinking that should carry over into a lot of other areas
Yeah.
within the brands per se. That was interesting when you brought up cameras. Did you bring up cameras?
Yeah.
Because I find that there's a new recognition in camera integrations with analysis of behavior
I
that
say
is
it
coming
might
about.
be because of the union.
I think the interesting thing is that true restaurants and F&B companies have been doing these things for years.
Yeah.
Chipotle,
Why not the
videos,
hotel
they're-
industry?
They're monitoring their employees and they're seeing how much, what size scoop
Yeah.
you're putting on the bowl, those kind of
Although the CEO of Chipotle said that if you ask for more, they'll give you more.
things. I've tested it, not true. But we've treated them as outlets for so long, and
Yeah.
now it's like we're starting to finally put in that kind of true restaurant level technology into those, that's right, outlets or restaurants
Yeah.
and bars. And
Hey, they've been doing that in casinos for years, right?
Exactly.
Looking at,
Are you all seeing pressure to spend less on your F&B operations though, because of the downturn in just liquor, beer, wine, or not really?
I think the way we've defended against it is we can't really cut too much further without sacrificing it. So it's getting better at earning top line. And I think to Dan's point, if you were to sit with your operators and talk over the last 5 years, how much food and beverage marketing has come up in your sales and marketing budget, it's not really that much. And there's so many tools now where you could find out that I live maybe 2 blocks down the road from your hotel and in your restaurant fairly frequently. I like bourbon, so I never run my checks. So the next time you're going to pull that out and do a 7-run marketing campaign, I'm gonna come up for a bourbon dinner because I ordered bourbon every time I come. Like, those kind of things we just gotta get better at.
Well, also, I mean, if you look at, it used to be right with F&B that if you broke, it was a break-even business maybe, or you lost money. But now what, lifestyle hotels, I know,
They're leaders.
yeah. And Davis, I know you have Pivot. I mean, you guys have, I mean, and lifestyle hotels will make 50,
F&B is like
50%, it can be 50% of revenue, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
So it's offset. It's definitely the same numbers percentage-wise of your total revenue, despite the downturn.
Oh yeah, and that's actually the harder part, because I have some assets that the F&B does more than the hotel, but it's not running at the same margins.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
amazing.
It's just controlling pricing and margins balance.
Where do you think, guys think data has having the greatest impact on profitability today? Is it labor? Is it revenue management? Is it guest acquisition? Is it energy management? What are the kind of places where you think it's having the biggest kind of impact, data?
I think it's still research. I think we have to still figure this out.
I think we want it to be labor, but we haven't optimized it yet for labor. I think we try to do things with different labor management platforms that are tying into our systems, but like the new stack, I was on the phone with Actable the other day talking about hotel effectiveness and different measures, and we don't have enough KPIs in there that we really care about. Like what I'd love to do is take a blueprint of every one of our hotels and have it layered in, and then look at how many housekeeping closets we have per floor and how many footsteps it is from
Wow.
closet and what kind of closet's layout is, and kind of the 5S like storage system, like go in and take AI to optimize the storage of that closet and the cart, and then like those are the ways we should be thinking about how to use AI and to optimize labor, but I don't think anybody's there.
That reminds me of that. You guys watch The Bear when they're putting the kitchen together, and he's like, "How many steps do I take to get to this place?" and optimizing all that because every second counts. So, which I imagine in housekeep. Well, I mean, to your point, labor is the one you haven't cracked, but it also isn't easy when housekeepers in New York are going to be making $100,000 a year. There's not much you can, you need housekeepers, but the cost just keeps rising.
Yeah.
And that's not something you can really you can control.
It wasn't as prevalent until when I worked in Vegas when I started really thinking about that. Like, you've got corridors that are 80 rooms long, and if I run out of towels, that is a long trek to go get more towels, and my productivity just went down by 6 minutes.
You guys should get those like scooters or Segways. That could do it.
There's like robotics that are delivering.
Yeah.
That too, and like I know I was going to say with robotics with the vacuums now, that's a big thing. Is the like a Roomba.
Well, they have in-room laundry now too. They can do their own stuff in rooms.
In-room
Stuff.
laundry?
Yeah.
Like got bed folding machines, all kinds of stuff.
Oh yeah. I've seen that. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
So I have a broken ironing board in my room. So
Where you're
AI
staying?
didn't help.
Are you staying Are you staying here?
No, it's Hilton.
Okay. Well, I'll let Kristen Sutter know next time I see him. I saw him last week in New York. I'll let him know. I wrote down the word frightening. I don't know why, but I think it's a lot. It's so much. So much data out there and all the AI compounding. Do you get? Is there too much? Does it bog you down? Does it get a little scary out there when there's so much kind of? I mean, not for you guys because that's your business is data.
It's a cognitive load, I think it's something.
Yeah.
You can have so many agents and there's just not enough hours in the day to consume it all and work on it. There's a parsing exercise I think that's going on right now.
Yeah.
I think that just the data landscape like has to go through and will go through like a phase of natural selection. Like just because the data exists doesn't mean it's useful or applicable in any way, right? And so I think AI will actually help us get to that point where it can sift through quickly like, this is useful, I'm gonna keep this, I'm gonna use it later, this is useful right now, I'm gonna use it to make this decision, this is all just fat that can be trimmed and deleted and never looked at again. Like that's that kind of data parsing, like you don't need data scientists anymore to go through this big data or these massive tranches of data. But I think over time, just the whole world has to go through this kind of data evolution and this data natural selection to decide like what's actually actionable. Because data for the sake of data is pointless and it's just burning tokens.
Right.
I finally just last weekend took the time to get through creating all the agents that I need to go through all the data that I want, so I don't take the time to do it anymore. And I think that was, when I was thinking about AI and trying to talk to younger leaders, because there's also that scary side of like, well, we know how to cost down a schedule or, break down food costs or something. A lot of hoteliers will not know how to do those things as deeply as we ever will. So the way I kind of frame it up is like AI is very left brain intelligence. It's that kind of black and white side, where we are the right brain kind of creative side of wisdom that needs to look at things and view it. So I think having all these agents to be able to take those 300 emails you're getting a day and say, okay, every newsletter is going to route to this folder, and here's what I like, and here's my portfolio, here's everything about it. Give me a daily report of all my newsletters in aggregate of things that are going to be actionable to help grow my portfolio, rather than me taking time to look at them. And I think those would be the big things. Same for service too. Like all of our service scores come out, or like the KIPS user things. Just have an agent that reads through all those things and pulls me out the highlights, things I need to see today, and then the rest of the stuff's there for me to look at.
Well, that was the big thing with AI when it first came out. Everyone was like, for the hotel industry, everyone was like, oh, AI is going to be great because it's going to allow someone to focus on something more one-to-one human.
One-on-one human
Yeah.
guest interaction.
Yeah.
I think what scares me is watching an ownership group think that they can use AI to solve all their problems, and that they don't need a partner, or they don't need a third party or a strategist or somebody who can understand data and partisan out, where they take a co-pilot and it's an enterprise level and it's on that platform and they're going to train their own employees, and they're just telling others that we can just grab the data when we want to and we'll start to do our own analysis.
Yep.
And to me, I think that's the Wild West of, they're going to go down the wrong path at some point, because it's going to turn into that same thing that happened a decade ago, where they're still not going to know what to do with this big data. And they're all going to come up with 10 different answers, and they're all going to still face each other, and it all still becomes siloed.
Yeah.
And that's where I think the danger of thinking that AI is accessible to everyone, so we should all be experts.
Yeah, I think it's there to,
It's enticing.
it's there to optimize, not to replace.
Right.
Completely.
At least that's a major issue with Power BI too. Like, even
Right.
with the data warehouse running really, really well and Power BI out to all the users, people can report on the exact same data in a different way. And then you've got 5 reports all saying a different story off of the exact same data.
Yeah, to go back to your question about, is it scary, I think that's
Yeah.
how you phrased it.
Frightening.
Frightening, yes. To a
Worrisome.
degree, yes. And you can get into this analysis paralysis, and I
Yeah.
think that we have to remember we're in the service industry. Like, to go back to your point about, doing schematics of loading it into any, AI platform and telling me the most efficient things about a hotel, but when we have humans working in the service, cleaning rooms or whatnot, this person might be a little bit slower today, or a guest might have interrupted them, and AI doesn't necessarily know that, why they were 5 minutes behind, so we're not teaching them to be robots at the same time.
Right.
And then, who you give access to the data is very important. Like on our end, we control who we give that access to raw data, because again, you can take the same data and have 10 different sources of truth, and whose source is actually right
Yeah.
at the end of the day. So we try and, limit, who's doing the analysis, who's doing the data architecture, who has access to the raw data.
Yeah.
Yeah, James makes a great point. Like, I guess what's frightening to me with the amount of data we have now is everybody can be an expert with AI, and Claude can create a nice dashboard for them, and now they see the story, right? And they think because they see the story that they know the author, and they don't. Like, it takes human intelligence to still understand what actually happened on property that got this piece of data to this report, right? And it's, when you think about like working with tech partners, like Russ mentioned, 15 years working at property level in hotels before getting into tech, that's meaningful. Like, because if you ever talk with Russ about how to develop a report or develop a dashboard or develop a solution, he takes it back to like, well, when the night auditor is pushing this button, this is what's going to happen next, right? And so you need that human intelligence to understand how the data even makes it to the report at the end of the day to begin with.
Yeah, I think the most frightening part too, it's probably more like the fact that we're saying AI is AI when it can convince a human that it's human, right? It's never forgetting that it's not human, it's not emotion. It's trained to interpret emotion and to actually give answers the way we want them based on how much we're engaging with it.
Yep.
There has to be that right side of the brain where we're pulling in kind of that emotional side the wisdom side and saying, but is this the right path to go down for our associates or for our guests? But I think that's the scariest part in the earlier days of AI, is realizing or thinking you're talking to a friend or someone that has like a connection, understands what's going
Right.
on.
Well, I mean, look at, 2001: A Space Odyssey. Look what happened at the end of that, with that movie with HAL, 2000, and how we turned on the humans. Do you let, on property level, do you let your front desk agents use AI? I mean, I always hear, like, at luxury hotels, I mean, like, for instance, is the concierge dead because of AI? Are they necessary anymore? I don't know how many hotels you guys operate that have still the traditional concierge. Is that still a thing? Are they using AI to, like, build out itineraries and get restaurant reservations? I don't know.
Yeah, I think the traditional concierge is still a thing in luxury. I hope that doesn't go away. I think that touch point will always be important. I think, again, like anything else, and even the manager spending more time with the housekeeper on the floor, AI allows us to spend more time with those interactions to make them more meaningful.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that concierge is using AI in the background.
Right.
To both reservations and the itineraries and all that stuff. But that engagement can never be replaced.
Which in AI, like we said 10 minutes ago, that's what it should do, is allow, because to your point, I mean, it's a service business, hospitality.
It's an interesting balance, though. Like, if I go to concierge and I ask them to do something for me, they send me back a very obviously generated AI.
Yeah, with a lot of M dashes.
Yeah, I'm going to be like, well, I could have done it myself. Yeah, what was the point?
Well, yeah, it's true.
AI can recommend the restaurant, but the concierge is gonna get you past the wait list.
Well, yeah, it can't get you the hot,
Yeah.
the ticket on Broadway or the restaurant reservation. That's impossible to get. It can tell you it's a great restaurant, but it's not going to be able to. You still need that person who has the ins, who can grease the palms a little bit, so to speak. What do they do?
Opportunity, I think, in the back of house, like so much low-hanging fruit that we could spend the next 3 years just optimizing in the back house and leave the guest stuff to the humans. And then we start thinking about how the AI interacts with the guests.
Yeah.
That's a personal opinion.
Yeah.
I'm not in your guys' shoes, but I think there's so much. I mean, we've been working on like tax reconciliation stuff that it just takes so much time and so error prone, and it would just help remove hours of work from GMs. And,
Yeah. But what are you guys working at Hotelier? What's the next big kind of thing that we should be looking out for in terms of from a BI tool
I
like
think
yours?
forecasting, right? So we're trying to plug in forecasting to everything as much as possible and making, kind of lowering the bar on who gets to forecast, who gets to participate in a budget cycle, should be the people on the ground at the hotel, because they're gonna have the most amount of information that's pertinent. So a housekeeping supervisor is gonna know how they need this schedule more than anybody on the planet, right? More than any kind of regional finance person, but it still needs to be top to bottom, a forecast that isn't just focused on scheduling. It's gotta bring in the CPOR on every line item. Yeah, I can buy new carts this year because it's easier to roll them down a long hallway.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna save $3 per occupied room throughout the year by spending this little bit amount of money. Things that people weren't thinking about, right? Like I buy carts every 10 years.
Right.
Push your cart, like, doesn't matter,
Yeah.
but it actually makes a difference.
Oh, yeah, or when to PIP your hotel. I mean, there's so many implications for it. I guess, well, if we look 3 years ahead now, what would be the clear sign that data and AI have truly improved operations, from better margins, faster decisions, improved guest experience, what did I say, less administrative work, stronger owner confidence, or something else? So what's the clear sign that data and AI have truly done their job, I guess? Is there one thing you can point to?
I don't know if there's one thing to point to. I will say, interestingly enough, over the last 6 months, I've spent more time doing what I love doing when I'm going on hotel visits and being able to be on the floor with the team
Yeah.
than I ever had before, because
What were you doing before then?
reports on
Okay.
on calls, trying to go through things, getting prepped for this big
What
presentation.
are
I
you
do.
learning from them when you're on the floor?
That's not as much learning from them as it is
Or just
being
experience?
able to spend time with them. A lot of times
Okay,
there's-
so an interaction.
I'll do a property
Culture
visit.
building.
Yeah, I do a property visit. I'm at a property every week at least, and oftentimes I'm there. Like in the past, it's kind of an hour with the team, and then I'm with the GM or the DOS or other things, kind of getting prepped for this next owner's visit or what we've got going on. And now there's so much prep work that's being done for me by AI that I'm, kind of looking at how I really being able to spend more time. So I think for me, it's quality of life for us and for our associates. As long as the service scores are continuing to elevate,
Yeah.
and the revenues are continuing to grow, I think associate retention actually may be one that people aren't looking at. That
Right.
may be an indicator that AI is helping. I know that sounds a little crazy. People are using AI as something that's going to kill jobs.
No, I think adoption to technology is one thing. I think what you pointed out before, which is you're getting to know the associates, but are they giving feedback to you on how they can improve their situations? And does that inform you? I just took over your questioning.
That's okay. I give you the
I mean,
floor.
does that inform you though, so that you can go back and try to work on something? Do they ever do that?
I mean, through our one-on-ones and engagement conversations, yeah, but I would say we've not done any surveys around AI or as any initiatives we've done as a result of that improved their experience yet. I think that would be a good thing next to talk about. And we do a real-time survey where if there's something they're enjoying or liking, they can speak to it and post on it.
Have they ever brought up what he was bringing up before? I'm an associate saying I'm worried about AI because it's going to replace me.
Not associates, managers have.
Okay.
Well, I was just gonna say, you brought something up that was, you just said it gives me more time to do this other stuff, and I was like thinking, and it's like kind of a gloomy question, was like, are you scared about your job down the, not your job now, but the job you do down, how's that, is it gonna not get replace it, but change it, for sure?
So when I first joined, to like teach a session on AI at James Conference, I was like a month in, and I was trying to figure out how I'm gonna frame this, and you got a room that's kind of half divided. Some really love AI, some really are scared of it, and think
Yeah.
it's the job. And again, kind of that pullback to say, like really think about left brain, right brain, like AI's intelligence, we are wisdom, and experience and emotion. So I don't think it's gonna replace us, but I do think like, and this is a common phrase going around right now, those that don't use AI will get replaced by someone who does use AI.
Yeah.
And that's the truth in our industry. Like, we will be stronger and better than most as long as we're still good human beings, because that's the core of what we do. But if I use AI versus someone who doesn't, I'm gonna be 10 times more productive than they are. You just can't argue that. I've got agents going in the background and everything going on.
Yeah,
The rote work goes away. Right? Anything that's just
Yeah.
like can be automated will be automated, and the human critical thinking
Right.
piece, like from the session this morning, often you all.
I think one of the things we forgot to
States.
mention was robotic process automation, which was that was after big data, was RPAs, because that was to take away from the mundane tasks that would not retain the associates as long because of the mundane tasks. Really, it was more in the accounting world or the front desk world or reservation world or loyalty world, repeating the same tasks over and over again. So AI and RPAs are kind of interchangeable in a way, and I don't know how they relate with each other. Because there's a bunch of RPAs here at the conference, and I'm interested to see where they're going to morph.
yeah.
So,
I would like look a few years down the road and for us to find success with data and AI a couple ways. One, we did give Copilot enterprise licenses to all of our GMs and directors of sales across all of our hotels. Really without guardrails, some suggestions, best practices, basics to get them off the ground, but we think that that's at the unit level, that's where innovation is going to come from back up to us. We're going to get users who become super users, who find creative ways to use AI, and then we'll have best practices. So we've sort of set up this AI lab to learn from the field, which we can learn a lot more than trying to push it top down. So success would be, every week we're getting new use cases and best practices from the field to roll out across the portfolio. Another way I would define success is, if you look at how the industry uses data today, even what we think of as like forward-looking measures are actually based on historical data. So even pace is something that's already happened compared to something that happened already this time last year. I would rather AI help us get to where we're truly looking at demand signals.
Right.
We're looking at leading indicators. We have much better predictive analytics so that we can respond before a booking happens and strategize better. So I think AI should help us flip to that true forward look at data and not things that are just data that's compiled over things that have already happened and are behind us in the rearview mirror.
I'll add to that. Like and you guys are gonna hate me for this. Okay, but what I will love is, you know, all this data needs to be like in one central repository ultimately. So again, the part that you're probably gonna hate is think of a Tesla as an example. Today, you can say, hey, I wanna go here if you have full self-driving or whatnot, put in your GPS, put it in and go and drive the whole way. It can tell you right away, there's a forecast that your forecast will be at this location at 1:12, and you can see that there's some traffic along the way. If you're getting close to that traffic, it's gonna reroute you, say, hey, there's a quicker way. So I would like to be able to take that similar analysis or analogy, I guess you can say, and say, today I wanna book, you know, $200,000. What do I need to do to my pricing for this room type or this particular rate code, or what's the demographic that I need to push that out to? Or perhaps I want to end the month at this particular forecast and rooms is pacing this way, F&B is behind, my P&L is not doing so good. But use all those different indicators, like you said, predictive analytics ultimately, and be able to have an actual data-driven system and not necessarily relying too much on human input. Maybe we can, you know, co-pilot a little bit, but that would be my end goal.
I don't think anyone hates you for saying that, James, do they?
I can't stand them.
Sorry, I dragged one out.
No,
I think 3 years from now, it's gonna be more automation, because I think we're at that stage right now where it's like we had all the information, and we were always talking about what happened in the past.
Yeah.
Now we're seeing things further ahead now, and we're engaging on what's the best thing I can do to make this happen. And probably 3 years from now, it's gonna be, here's what I already triggered and did because flights surged for this area, because a concert was just released. I protected your rate and lifted to this.
Yeah.
If you don't like that recommendation, let me know, we'll move it back down. But it'll be more, it's already doing it for us, as long as it fits within parameters.
Well, your point, I mean, like the whole Taylor Swift kind of phenomenon, bringing in all these external factors and how that impacts your, you know, revenue management or forecasting down the way. I mean, there's so much there, I
So
suspect.
I will say something that people probably will hate me for, but I
Oh, no.
don't think any of this is gonna happen in 3 to 5 years.
No, not 3 to 5 years.
You mean
That's-
the predicted?
Any of this.
Okay.
If I'm just being like super wet blanket. But honestly, I genuinely don't think it will. I don't think we will move quick enough as management groups or as ownership groups. I just don't think we'll have
I think that's
the
right.
time or the resources, okay?
And money.
Which means or money, yeah, time and resources. And we're gonna have to rely on our partners to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just don't see anyone today out in that space leaning in. I think most of our, on the revenue side, I think most of those people are companies that have been around for a long time. And I think they're gonna make some iterations, but not fundamental changes, right? I think on the upside, I feel like there are companies out there, PMSs, that are making strides, but I think the vast majority of them are gonna make little changes. So this kind of fundamental like shift in
Yeah.
the way that we do business,
It's farther out than
I
3 to
don't
5
think
years.
much further.
Do you guys all believe that?
I think one thing you said was really right, and that is we're probably gonna get in our own way a little bit, because there's gonna be like 2 big gating issues. One's gonna be cost, and there's gonna be people that don't strongly believe in it. Like early adopters will spend whatever to get the newest tech, right?
Yeah.
I think there's gonna be too many laggards that are gonna stop that. You know, we did the Copilot thing as well. We're loving it. We're also doing like this Claude test where there's 80 of us that have, you know, the enterprise, but you know, I'm asking for new tokens like every 4 days because I'm going through, and it's expensive.
Right.
So I think that may be one gating issue. The other one's going to be potentially like the Apple effect of people starting to close out systems or saying, you know, you can only use Claude for this, and that's going to stop someone from letting it go enterprise-wide.
Yeah.
Or you can only use Copilot for this, and that's going to stop it from going enterprise-wide. I think those are going to be probably the gating issues. So you might be right, much maybe. Like, I would love it to happen in the next 3 years.
I'm being somewhat, I'm just challenging the thought. I hope. But part of me, the pragmatic me says,
Yeah. A little bit longer.
I think
I think you're right. I'm torn on it too, right? Like I'm on the tech side, so I want to be as optimistic as possible. And even within the hotelier team, like we've gone full board. We're full agentic developing now, where 6 months ago we were still doing 2-week sprints. It's a daily sprint now. We're releasing code every day. Into production, it's safe and it's working and it's fast and it's amazing and it's opening up the opportunity for me to have more conversations with my customers. that are more meaningful instead of sitting there writing user stories and double checking paperwork and documenting. So I see it moving really fast. I also know we're in hospitality.
And how slow we are.
And I've been in it for a long time, and it's rigid, and we argue about putting a gas meter on our Tesla, and it's like, we don't need it anymore. Like, it doesn't need to be there. We don't need an odometer anymore. It's just a screen. It does everything for you. But I know that there are entrenched stakeholders in our industry that we're just not gonna be able to break everybody.
We've far past the mass adoption. I mean, that's the most important part. We were kind of looking at AI. I did this slide on like all the major technologies that have taken to get to 100 million users, whether that's a TV, telephone, etc. Like, you graph those and then you see the launch of ChatGPT and how long it took them to get to 100 million.
Yeah.
Not even close, right? Like, it's not going away this time. It's been around, it's been tried before 10, 15 years ago, but it's like definitely here to stay. So that part's good. I think it's going to be more potentially any regulations that, good or bad, to the point of Fable 5, that sucked. You know, how many more times is that going to happen, and they ultimately shut it down because the AI race is going to have to move slow.
Or cost. If it just balloons in cost because it's all been sitting there giving them away for free for a year or two, and then a surprise comes, that could put a hamper on it.
Yeah, the cost is the big risk. Yeah, cost is the big risk. And I think, you know, look, if you look at the major brands domestically within our space, all it takes is one of them figuring out a way to drive better market share with AI pricing.
Yeah.
The others will have to very quickly. It's just a factor, and I think shareholders are going to push them to be at the forefront and not a laggard in that. So we could be at the point where we're sitting here at 2 years and 9 months, and Dana's right, like, yeah, we're nowhere near there, but then a month later, somebody pulls the trigger and everybody else does, and at the 3-year mark, everybody's bought into it, right?
Right.
It could flip that fast. There's just so much that's unknown, and there's cost risk, but there's also tremendous upside.
So generally, is it something that we develop, or are we relying on partners to build that for us that we implement?
Stonebridge is on a parallel path currently where we're leaning into great partners like Hotelier and what their roadmap looks like. We're also talking with third-party developers to develop things in-house. And, you know, it's exploratory, but even when you're just exploring it and looking at what the options are, like, it's not that hard to build something agentic that says, based on lift, based on secondary concert ticket prices, based on how your demand into this market's responded historically with these weather patterns and these airport delays, like, you should take your price up at this hotel tomorrow night now,
Right.
like by $30. That's there. Now, whether or not it works, I don't know, but it's something, it's not that expensive to test. And if enough people start testing it and find value in it, then I think it just snowballs from there.
Well, I think that the market's going to change quite drastically with AI when you can merchandise AI and buy ads, and now you're influencing the AI of what the recommendation is to the consumer, and that's right
It's
around
funny
the
you say
corner.
that. I stopped using like Gemini a few months ago because I was starting to get served up responses that were based on probably Google ads.
Yeah.
And it's going to be across all of
It
them.
rubbed me the wrong way. Yeah.
All right, well, we're getting closer to the end of the hour, so I think we'll end with our last question, which I think you tipped earlier, which is fine, that's okay. And basically was, if you have access to one piece of data that you don't have today and use it perfectly across your portfolio, what would it be, and how would it improve operations overall? And Dana, I'll go to you first, because we started with, you want to go last?
I don't. I looked at this question and I didn't have a good answer the first time I saw it, and I still
You still don't?
still have a particularly great answer. My like really boring answer is I would really, really love to figure out a way to better solve for reporting in the marketing space and figuring out ways to like have a metric that's better than ROAS and just better, especially in the independent space for me, just better understanding of like successful use of my marketing spend.
Yeah.
I think automation is pretty straightforward in all the other areas, but it's a boring one.
Yeah, it's not that boring.
The fun one is.
Oh, you had one this whole time. You just were waiting.
Just give me
I guess it's you, James.
Oh, dang it. I thought you were gonna skip me. I don't really have a good answer, to be honest, but I think selfishly I would say is we have enough technology to make our lives easier. You know, I would want to make sure that my owners and, you know, C-suite people are happy or they're getting a nice profit, but at the end of the day, like, let me use AI to not work a 80-hour work. You know, ultimately, let's use the technology for what it is. Let me pull a couple triggers and, you know, make a guess.
Selfish reasons. That's good. Yeah. 80 hours a week. Wow.
I think it's behavioral analysis, not to get any CSI or anything, but I think it's about the patterns of behavior because those are the consumers. And it goes back to marketing a little bit because everything is going to be from the consumer side of what they demand and what they want and how they want to be treated and how they want to flow. And
But that changes like they change their underwear.
exactly. So therefore, somehow you have to, it has to be trackable in some way, shape, or form so that it can actually give strategy. That's where I think.
Yeah.
I think that data should become a little less expensive. The one that always sticks in my head is airline data. Like it'd be tremendous to have it for hotel organizations, but it's always so expensive to get to. I think from property up, like the lock systems is there. That's an easy one. It should be an easy one. I think that's it. Those are the ones I'm thinking of.
You're like, what's the third one? Two's good.
One in there. Think about it before we've been around.
Yeah.
I'll go back to the lock systems, because I do think it's, you know, one of my biggest fears in our industry is that we become a commodity, our hotels become commodities, and everything is just based on price and location. The lock system, to me, that data, again, tells us, have we built a hotel and an experience within the hotel that the traveler is actually engaging with and using, and how are they using it, and how does that vary by traveler type and by market segment, and by day of week, and it just allows us to continue to build, for our owners to continue to build products that guests genuinely engage with and want to be in, and that gives us pricing power, and it helps us drive more efficient operations, and to me, it all comes back to usage, and I think that lock system data, I would really like to have.
It's all needs to work properly for 3 days.
Yeah.
Two things for me, and I think it's, the associate retention piece is a big one. I think it's gonna help solve for some of that, but through the lens of us trying to figure out ways to make their jobs truly easier, not necessarily ways for us to save the cost of doing it, that will be a byproduct of it, but if the goal is to create a better experience for them and more efficiencies for them so they can spend more time just doing their jobs.
Yeah.
I think that'll be one. And then the other side that I'd love to see it solve for is just like, what's the true labor demand or cost, what cost of labor should be for any particular shift, not to kind of throw that outside of not being for the assistants, but for us, we've got all the metrics of being able to say like, we should be at this POR, but there's a lot of things that go into that could have changed, that could have caused, have that shift operated, and more insights to that would be important.
Inside baseball.
I think event data is huge, and it's, again, it's something you can get access to, which is very expensive. But you can't expect every revenue manager on property to know every single event that's happening in the market, or even crazy things you don't think of, like a solar eclipse just happens to be best viewable in your area. You have no idea that that's coming, to be able to price out even further into the future, because I mean, events like solar eclipse, people are booking those 5-10 years in advance, and the hotel has absolutely no idea it's happening unless they're looking that far out.
And the best room to look at it from, or rooftop.
Exactly. Just things you're not necessarily thinking about from that perspective.
See, for me, I just want better water pressure and be able to know how to turn the TV, work the TV, man. That's all I really need. I'm simple. I'm a simple guy, though. All right. Well, this has been fantastic. I really appreciate you guys spending some time on the cusp of high tech. I thought it was a great discussion. I want to thank Hotelier for partnering with us on this, and really cool swag too. Very, very, very colorful. I like it. So thank you for all your insights. Have a great conference. I hope I see you guys on the trade show floor. Thank you again. Appreciate it.
Thank you.